Hello and welcome back to another gameplay video of Flesh and Blood here at the armory in Jyväskylä, central Finland. This time around we are playing a booster draft. So the players have drafted their decks and are starting the first game here. This is a game between Zyggy and Oscilio, Scion of the Third Age. Zyggy on the left hand side here is the Lightning Illusionist. His ability reads instant, 2 resources, tap, destroy a lightning flow you control, banish another lightning aura permanent you control with no holo counters, return the banished aura to the arena with a holo counter. In itself, perhaps not obvious what this actually achieves, apart from, I suppose, entering / leaving effects being duplicated by that taking place. But a key point of this interaction here is Aphrodisias, which can only be activated if an aura with a holo counter has entered the arena under your control this turn. And it's 1 resource tap, deal 2 arcane damage to target hero. This gives Zyggy some interesting reach, as you could say. In the later stages of the game, he could kill you at instant speed with this hero ability and Aphrodisias combination. There are also some cards that have particular synergies with the holo counters, which we might see eventually. Oscilio, the second take on the hero here, has an ability that also destroys a lightning flow to discard a card and create a ponder token. If an instant is discarded this way, you may play it this turn. And of course the ponder token here, at the end of your turn, you draw a card that you can then potentially put in the arsenal before ending your turn. So I believe Oscilio is going first here. Now Oscilio is a lightning wizard, so has access to some powerful arcane damage cards. Here is a volatile fluxer in blue. It attacks for 0 with go again, but can bump itself up to 1 if an instant card is played on this chain link. When it hits, it will create a lightning flow. So if the opponent doesn't respect it, it's a nice way to set up a lightning flow here on the first turn of the game. Alright, I just switched the sides, I hope that's okay. Now the life totals there are readable. So, on turn 0 in this draft format, there are some interesting things to consider. The equipment, some of them, such as the robes that we see the Oscilio player sitting there with, they cost quite a lot of resources, so sometimes you might find yourself in a situation where you're not necessarily going to want to use all of those resources during your actual turn, spending all those cards to pitching just for some prevention. So sometimes those are extra valuable on the first turns. And then of course there's some arcane damage at instant speed that can come back and forth. So there's many heroes that have, or essentially all the heroes have access to some interactive things on the first turn of the game. So there's often quite a lot of stuff that can happen beyond just, Arsenal pass, as is at some points were kind of conventional turn 0 plays. So here we see an instant played out. So this is Constella Contemplation. It's going to create a ponder token. And this will bump the Fluxer up to 1 power. I believe it was not blocked in this situation. Starfall not active at the moment, so there's no arcane damage from this. And here we do see an aura played out at instant speed here. A crackle from afar with ward 1, which will be able to stop that damage from the volatile fluxer. Unless there's another effect that will I'm not sure if we've seen everything. If the attack has resolved yet. I suppose it has, since Crackle from afar has hit the graveyard. Cosmic Suture here is played. It will prevent damage, but perhaps more notably it will deal an arcane damage. And with the Volzar activation, weapon that I did not show you earlier, it will amp 1, so there's 2 arcane damage. This would have been possible to do before the attack resolved, which could potentially then take out the ward aura and allow the volatile Fluxter to actually hit and make the lightning flow. I would say that's like a slightly more optimal way to go about things, but there is more prevention here. So there is a Auric Shards played out to prevent 1 piece of damage thanks to ward. So Zyggy has a lot of these ward cards that are kind of like these natural counters to the arcane damage from Oscilio, which of course is otherwise sometimes a bit difficult to deal with. You can't block arcane damage normally. Red Auric Shards are kind of a premium aggressive card here, so perhaps unfortunate for Zyggy that it was expended on the first turn just for defense. But you never know if there's more of them lurking in the deck, or if there are other better cards available to Zyggy. And here we see a Fragment attack opening up. It is Ebbing Arcstride in red, it looks like. So when this fragments, it gets go again. Fragment essentially means that if you defend it with a real card, it gets -2. Fragment notably can be triggered multiple times on the same attack. In this case, that doesn't make sense to block it with 2 cards, but you know, just saying that that can come up sometimes, so that whenever this fragment triggered ability can be triggered multiple times, sometimes. In this case, the attack would get go again. So it presents an interesting decision where, like, if you choose not to defend it, they might have to end their turn right then and there. But then you, of course, will be taking 5 damage, which is unfortunate to take. Fragment rewards you for defending in terms of reducing the power of the attack, but the effects that happen can be annoying to deal with. And you never know if Zyggy has other ways to continue the turn, even if this doesn't get go again. So it's certainly not risk-free to just take 5 and hope that you are bricking their whole hand. We see some instants there in the hand for Oscilio, but there's a couple of cards there that can defend for sure. Didn't get a peek at whatever was put in the arsenal from Ponder. There's also equipment available for preventing damage. Oscilio has a full suite of 4 equipment here, but they won't interact with Fragment in any meaningful way, which could be a positive or a negative depending on how the Fragment trigger affects things. Both players new to this format, the first draft here, so it makes sense to have a little bit of uncertainty. We see defending here with a Comet Collision, a red arcane spell, perhaps indicating that there are other arcane spells that Oscilio is planning to use instead of this one. Polaris Pulse Ray, a rare card from Zyggy here in the blue variety. Still a serviceable attack. This one also has Fragment that threatens to deal an arcane damage. This one is also defended, so it goes down to 3 power, so it's fully defended. And it seems 1 arcane damage going through there. So even though 10 damage was presented, it's effectively been blocked by just 3 block cards here because of this Fragment's ability. Here is a Cosmic Duality discarded to deal 1 arcane damage. and create a lightning flow. Oscilio wants to play out 2 red chromatic refinements on Zyggy's turn here. So they would both give a discount to a red card and give it +1 damage. They would also turn on Volsar's activation, which I expect that we will see. Volsar can amp for 1. And there is a turn to Mindfire, played for free, thanks to the cost reduction of those 2. This is now 8 arcane. And if that hits, Oscilio can be tapped to make a ponder token. Surely it will not be easy to cover up this amount of damage. Thunderous Retort in red is played out. A very useful card against Oscilio with Arcane Barrier 3. So if there's blue available here, 3 of this damages can be prevented. Indeed, that is the case. So only 5, quote-unquote only 5 damage coming through still. Of course, there's equipment and lightning flows available to take some of the edge off. If all of the equipment and both lightning flows are utilized, this whole thing could be prevented, but that would be committing a lot of cards. Pitches another card to the headgear to prevent 1 more damage and opt 1. Zyggy perhaps not able to convert all the cards in that hand otherwise. Taps Oscilio for the ponder token. And that is a Meteoric Impact in red going to the arsenal. This card is a very good synergy with the chromatic refinements that we saw played earlier, since of course 1 chromatic refinement will give it a discount and it will be free, and it will also enable the Starfall ability. It's a very, very potent card together with chromatic refinements. So perhaps you could imagine Oscilio a little bit bummed that those refinements were all played out on the previous turn. But I'm sure there are other ways to enable the Starfall if the Oscilio deck has been drafted reasonably well. Zyggy is left with 1 card here. Possibly looking to arsenal it, or if it's a 0-cost attack, then maybe it will be sent right away. Sometimes it's not obvious which of those are the best. Alright, I believe, priority was passed here, so just waiting for the opportunity to put the card in arsenal. Oscilio plays out a Spellbane Sigil. This is presumably just an instant that will go to the graveyard, so that Starfall is enabled for this next turn. And indeed it goes to the graveyard. And here's Meteoric Impact. And in response, evolves our activation to... evolves our activation to amp 1. So 6 arcane. Very nice find off of that ponder token. Zyggy has an arsenal card. And with Zyggy, sometimes you can struggle to convert hands if you have multiple fragment attacks that don't have go again, and you don't have any embodiment of lightning. So we'll see what happens here. Here's a Hollow Shield in red, so we might see. So this one definitely benefits from Zyggy's ability here. So fortunately, so 2 cards are pitched here. Lightning Flow utilized for Zyggy's ability. So it comes back with a hollow counter, and so it has ward 4. And Rhodius is also activated here thanks to an aura with a holo counter having entered this turn, so sending 2 arcane at Oscilio here. So a lot of things going on here at instant speed. But that's the nature of these heroes here in this format. A lot of things can happen at instant speed. Oscilio here perhaps considering using some equipment. Looking at the Lace Lightning shoes here, potentially wanting to create that embodiment of lightning. We did see an attack action card in Oscilio's hand here. So it chooses to use this equipment here by pitching... Well, yes, there was already 2 resources floating, and also using a piece of equipment and tapping the hero. So those 2 arcane damage from Aphrodisias are fully prevented, and an embodiment of lightning is created. And so 2 damage goes over the ward 4 of that hollow shield. So already Zyggy has played out most of their hand. Oscilio goes to the end, unable to use the rest of the cards in that particular situation. And here is a Polaris Pulse Ray. This time in red. It's coming in for 7. Of course with Fragment, so this can be knocked down a peg by a little bit of defending, and I do believe we see plenty of cards with defense value on Oscilio's side of the table. There's an arcane spell. In the arsenal we have a Flittering Spike. Possibly there are no instants in this hand, only action cards. Two Nebula Dualities. And another Meteoric Impact in red as well. Unfortunately not so easy to use in this situation. So here we see the kind of hand where Oscilio unfortunately cannot get Starfall, and so cards like Meteoric Impact are much less impactful. No pun intended. Looks like we're defending for 3 here, knocking Polaris Pulse Ray down to 5 power. And we'll maybe cash in a piece of equipment here as well. So 2 damage goes through. Yeah, 1 arcane damage from the fragment trigger, and then that was preempted with the equipment, and then 2 damage physical. Yes. Flittering Spike. This is coming in for 4 go again. If an instant card has been played, it will get +2. And on hit, makes even a lightning flow. As we can see from Oscilio's hand, there is no instant card here. Perhaps trying to bluff the instant interaction here and hope that Zyggy will block this with 2 cards. Zyggy plays out a ward aura. This gains 1 life. It is the Nourishing Glow. thinking about playing some more. I think we see, is that a hand full of auras, perhaps, for Zyggy. Corrosive Space Dust is played out here. Now this is in blue, I believe. So this has ward 1 and could be ward 2 if it has a hollow counter. Pitching another instant aura, I believe. Keeping an auric shards in the hand. So this leaves ping threatening 1 arcane damage. And it is going to come back and have ward 2 and probably be destroyed again to deal another arcane damage. Corrosive Space Dust, a very powerful card in the later stages of the game when your opponent is at low life. Here, it's not really doing its best job. Perhaps just a way to convert these kind of clunky cards that was in this hand for Zyggy. Only instant auras. And no attacks. The arcane ping comes through, and there it is, back again with a hollow counter. Now, Aphrodisiac can be activated for 2 more arcane damage. There's a lightning flow and a Constella Tiara available for Oscilio. Looks like the lightning flow will be used to prevent 1, and 1 more damage comes through. And so the damage is dealt here. No instant played, so the +2 effect not happening, but still 1 damage comes through to create that lightning flow. Which is then promptly utilized to prevent the 1 damage from the Corrosive Space Dust. Back to the... well, yeah, we're still here in the Oscilio's turn. Here the Meteoric Impact is played. And in this situation, just for 3 arcane damage, which goes through. And then a little ping here from the Nebula Duality as well, which leaves behind a lightning flow. Oscilio choosing to convert all these cards here instead of saving anything in the arsenal. There was a bit of awkwardness with the pitch, putting the pitch on the bottom there, I suppose. Zyggy, with no more cards, has to just pass back the turn. So leaving Oscilio free to play any instants, should they so desire, before their turn begins. Here we see a hand that does have several instants available. No red arcane damage spell though, so I suppose a bit punished here for not being patient with that Meteoric Impact. That would have been much more impactful with this hand supporting it to give the Starfall bonus damage. So there was a Star World Warning. Very flexible instant for Oscilio. Not necessarily as impressive in the other heroes. Chooses to play this out. Yeah, we're on Oscilio's turn here. Makes 2 lightning flows. Enables Starfall. And in here there's a tap lessons. Tap lessons passed. Not a Starfall card, but Volzar, of course, is available to amp when you have had an instant go to the graveyard. So this is coming for 3 arcane, and if it connects, you can tap Oscilio and take an instant from the graveyard back to the deck. This can be very useful if you have one of these late game Haymaker instants in the deck or in the graveyard. We haven't seen any so far. Here's another great card for stopping arcane damage. Arcane Barrier 3 off of Thunderous Retort stops the whole thing. Oscilio puts the last card in Arsenal. Now Zyggy, left with a 2-card hand, does get go again to their attack. Perhaps unlikely to be able to utilize it, but if there are 2 0-cost attacks here, of course, Ziggy is very happy. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There's a Heaven's Claws, just coming in for 5 with go again, but no follow-up available here. Or indeed, maybe that is the yellow variety. Coming for 4. It's not the greatest use of 2 cards, but it is damage, I suppose. Oscilio looking at... there's a red arcane spell. There is an instant. There's also an instant in the arsenal. Looks like that will be played outright off of whichever card here. I believe that was a Sigil of Astral Flow in the hand. I can show this suture here. Pitches a blue to play Cosmic Suture. That would prevent 4 damage. Now, I believe we are kind of missing out on a useful interaction here that with Oscilio's ability. If you use a Lightning Flow, you can discard the Cosmic Suture and then play it with the 2 remaining resources. Since Oscilio's ability costs one resource, then we would have gotten an Arcane Damage ping here in on this turn. And a Ponder token left behind. But the first game of new format, can't expect perfect play here. But yes, the Sigil of Astral Flow there left behind a Lightning Flow and has enabled Starfall for this turn. Which means that this Constella Contemplation will ping for 2 damage thanks to the amp from Volzar. And also create a Ponder token. So perhaps Oscilio choosing to not use the Oscilio ability, owing to the fact that a Ponder token was on its way anyway. But I suppose 2 Ponder tokens is still better than 1, since you do get to have 2 cards to choose from to put something in your arsenal. And with this amount of Lightning Flow available, I don't think the cost was too high, so to speak, to pay to get a Ponder token and 1 arcane damage off of that Cosmic Suture. The robes deployed here to prevent a little bit of arcane. The Starflow robes. Shattering Flow Tide pitched for that. We've been seeing several of those pitched this game, I think. Here's a Comet Collision. This is 4 arcane damage thanks to Starfall. I believe this ability, it is not a coincidence that it shares its name with Aurora's. Yeah, down to 5 life there. With Aurora's weapon, Starfall, previous iteration of her weapon, anyway. That weapon was utilized to repair Oscilio in some magical way, I believe. So I suppose Starfall is a part of Oscilio now. Now here is a great rare fragment attack, Fraying Life Force. One of those 2-card 7s with a fragment that can give you an upside if they defend. Oscilio here with the red Flashbolt. And is that potentially a full red hand? I think we see an Aether Sling. A lot of powerful cards here in this hand. Maybe that's a yellow. There's some prevention effects and some arcane damage cards available to Oscilio here. No blocks cleared. 7 damage goes through. Oscilio goes down to 6, perhaps confident that this next hand will secure a victory, or at least pave the path towards victory, utilizing instant speed arcane as well as regular action arcane cards. So we see that red flashbolt, which is a instant that can deal 3 arcane damage. Very potent to use on your opponent's turn. But can also be combined with cards on your own turn to enable... Oh, and here is an arc ramp. Played from the arsenal, this will amp 3 and destroys a lightning flow to get go again. Already amped 3. And then we're probably seeing the Aether Sling played out here, unless there's some other instant shenanigans going on. If you... one reason to play out the flashbolt here would be to get... to activate Volzar on this turn. 7 arcane. Already threatening a lethal amount of damage. Nourishing Glow comes in to hopefully save the day here, gaining a life and representing a piece of ward. So together with the Lightning Flow, that means Zyggy can survive this Aether Sling, being able to prevent 2 damage. Thanks to Omens of Arcana, which I forgot to mention, but Lightning Flow tokens get Spell Void 1. They are normally textless tokens that don't really do anything on their own. But in this limited format, they do have Spell Void 1, so they can be destroyed to prevent 1 arcane damage. Still, this is looking tough for Zyggy with that flashbolt still in Oscilio's hand, available to deal even more arcane damage here. Just counting the amount of damage coming through still here. It's unclear if ward has triggered yet. Well, now ward is triggering there. I don't think Oscilio will be tapped. There's no need for go again here. We'll simply play out the flashbolt for another 3 arcane. Asking if there's no more prevention to cover that up. So had the flashbolt been played first, then Volzar would have been able to come into play there with an instant having entered the graveyard. So I would say probably the better way to play this hand would be to play flashbolt first. But nevertheless, sending 10 arcane damage in 1 turn is often enough when your opponent is at 6 life. Alright, thank you for watching. Hopefully this was interesting.